Hugh Gray couldn't sleep well all night. This was because his head throbbed, as if the scent of Cline Lidden, which had risen from the tip of his nose, had penetrated into his brain. Finally, early in the morning, he gave up sleeping and headed to the second library to see if there was anything he didn't know about side effects among the records of imprinting. The second library was a secret library within the first library, and it was a place where records about the wolf beast men, the wolf as dukes, were collected. The beast people, who were very few to begin with, have continuously mixed blood with humans for a long time, and now most of them have become extinct except for the top predator races. Humans even believe that there were beast-man emperors and kings only in history and legend. Still unaware that the bloodlines of the imperial family, the royal family, and the highest nobles were continued only through beasts. It was obvious that they would rebel if they found out that their rulers were a very small number of beasts. Therefore, the remaining beast men agreed to allow humans to misunderstand that they were extinct and at the same time promote and strengthen such beliefs. In all other areas, there was absolutely no agreement. Therefore, even in the Wolf's family, the records of the prisoners were treated as secrets, and the second library, where the records were stored, was strictly prohibited from entering without the permission of the head of the family. However, even after thoroughly examining the documents in the second library, there was nothing new that he did not know about. To be precise, even after washing my eyes, I couldn't find any side effects that would cause confusion about body odor in people other than the person being imprinted, especially in men. As I read the record, my sense of self-destruction only grew. In that state, he saw the protagonist in question on his way back to his room. In the midst of a complicated situation due to imprinting, Cline Lidden is the provider of a new problem that is like pouring oil on the fire. He was looking all the way from the end of the aisle. What he was doing was strange, so I paid more attention. I don't know why he was so absorbed, but it was really strange to see him carrying 2 large bags in his hands, putting them down, and then closing the door to my room in a matter of seconds. He was so absorbed in closing the door that it seemed as if he was praying while holding the doorknob. So much so that I didn't even notice him until I stood right behind him. And then what? Leaving this early in the morning? It was funny to talk nonsense, but I no longer needed a servant who could speak Tigrium, and I had no taste for it, so having one around became pointless. This guy is giving off a stronger vibe than anyone else. He had no character, so I kept him as a servant, but he was more powerful than anyone else. Even if you kick them out right away, it won't be enough. So it didn't matter whether it was in the morning or evening. I should tell them to go. Rightly so. The problem is, why has this feeling that never existed before become so strong? And why do I not dislike that feeling? This was it. Rather than hating it, the scent makes me want to drink it. Are you crazy? Drinking. In fact, it was difficult to take my eyes off Cline Lidden's neck because I was so consumed with a burning thirst that I wanted to bite it right away. He was so scared that he had to step back. It's crazy. It was inevitable that the side effects of imprinting would be very serious. I can't believe you're showing such an insane physical reaction to a guy. We need to find a woman, and we need to get that guy out of the house quickly. So I told him to go. And that guy crawled away. Without even looking back until the end. I really went. Yeah, well, whatever. One strange side effect was physically resolved. Because only that guy had an abnormal reaction. Now, all he had to do was find a woman to quench this thirst that was so intense that it felt like the inside of his throat was splitting open. The problem has become very simple. Thank goodness. Yes, thank goodness. Hugh Gray stared at the stairs where Cline had disappeared, nodded his head as if he understood his situation, and eventually turned to his room. Stop. But his feet returned to the same spot, and his eyes turned to the doorknob that Cline was holding. Why was that door closed so carefully, as if it were a glass artifact? Suddenly a thought occurred to him, so he grabbed the doorknob that Cline Lidden had been holding a moment ago and turned it. Sigh. The moment I opened the door, a strong body odor filled the room to the point that I felt dizzy. It was a powerful scent that made my consciousness blur. But strangely, rather than being repulsed by the overwhelming scent, his body entered Cline's room as if drawn by a strong magnet. It was an empty room. There was no luggage, and all that was left was a bed, a nightstand, and a small closet. Other than that, his eyes scanned the room and settled on the bedding on the bed. Before he knew it, he walked towards the bed and lifted his pillow like a man possessed. The pillow had a stronger scent. What on earth is this? What is this strange feeling? I couldn't tell if it was thirst or longing, or even heat. I totally enjoyed it. He spit out the words as if he were chewing on his own, and before he knew it, he strengthened his grip on the pillow. To fall into such an incomprehensible condition in a room shared by a male servant who had been working next to me for several months. He had no other way to explain it other than that it was a side effect caused by imprinting. Obviously, these symptoms began to appear the day after the imprinting. So, as long as I find someone to imprint on, this crazy state will get better. It had to be that way. Not only did the damn estrus after imprinting come every month, but the intensity of the estrus was also much stronger than before imprinting. If you don't find a partner before the next estrus period, you could end up in a very dangerous situation. But in the midst of all this, I can't believe I'm reacting this much to the guy's body language. Before he knew it, the pillow he was holding in his hand was completely crushed. The state of the pillow seemed identical to his current physical and mental state. Shit! He threw the pillow on the bed. But his wildly distorted eyes suddenly widened the moment the pillow fell on the bed. What? He found something on the bed and a muttering to himself came out of his mouth. He lifted the pillow again. He wasn't mistaken. There really was a few thin threads shining gold. No, I just thought it might be a thread. He carefully picked it up and held it up in front of his eyes. As expected, it wasn't a thread. Blonde. It was long golden hair. Hair that would never appear on Cline, who has short brown hair. Cline Lidden stayed in this small room for 3 months. There is no other employee to clean the employee's room. But why did something like this come out of this room? He brought the blonde hair in his hand up to his nose and smelled it. As expected, the scent came from his hair. The scent is so similar that you don't know if it belongs to Chloe, the woman who imprinted it, or to Cline Lidden. Powerful enough to penetrate from the tip of his nose to his brain in an instant. Clutching his blonde hair, he headed straight to the room of Wilson, the mansion's manager. Chloe left the Duke's residence and went straight to the Information Guild. Chloe, long blonde hair, blue eyes, height 168, Arn, dog and cat night. The guild member recited the information she had given. Yes. The client is Duke Wolfes. Yes. Why is the Duke looking for this woman? Chloe was speechless. Shouldn't you tell me exactly what happened there? Did Duke Wolfes and that woman sleep at all? Yes. Chloe's voice cracked, surprised by the guild member's accurate guess. Why are you surprised? A man is looking for a woman, but there is another reason. It's either a woman who sleeps or a woman who wants to sleep. It's not like that. Chloe raised her voice as if to retort. The way of thinking that there were only two reasons why a man seeks a woman was absurd. But the reason her raised voice cracked was because the reason her duke was looking for her was really one of the two reasons given by the guild member. To my chagrin. Joy. No, it's not like that. Anyway, I understand. Once the results come out, I will visit the Duke's residence. The guild member snorted and said at Chloe's reaction, her face turning red. I was fed up because it felt like the guild members were piercing me, saying, "You and the Duke slept together." She hurried out of the Information Guild building. Now that I was free from this emergency that had happened overnight by mistake, I could really go home. This is what she would say if Duke Hugh Grey Wolfes wasn't standing outside her guild building watching her. As soon as she left the building and turned around, Chloe's legs became as stiff as sticks at the sight of the Duke. For some reason, I felt like they let me go too easily. The Duke was standing silently at the entrance of the Information Guild alley. Like a gatekeeper. It's as if you want to pass by if you're going to pass by. To get out of the Information Guild alley, you had to pass through that entrance. So as long as the Duke was standing in the middle of the alley entrance like that, Chloe could never escape this alley. So the Duke's intention was clear. He was waiting for her. To be more precise, she seemed closer to what they had come to catch. But why? Anxiety coursed through my whole body. Why is he standing there looking so scary, like someone has come to catch a fugitive? Duke. A sound like that of a mosquito that had been starving for several days came out of my throat. Cline Lidden. The Duke simply called her by her name. Come in front of me right now. It seemed like I heard those words one after another. Is this how a cow feels as it is being dragged to the slaughterhouse? Chloe reluctantly took her steps, one step at a time, approaching the Duke. Duke, what happened to the Information Guild alley? Well, since it's the Information Guild alley, I guess you came because you had a request, right? You tell me what you want to request. The Duke's voice, which cut Chloe off mid-sentence, was bitterly cold. Chloe had a hard time taking her mouth off his, as if the cold energy had frozen her upper and lower lips and made them stick together. If you're here because of the girl you're looking for, I just... Female? No. That's not it. In response to the answer Chloe could barely spit out, the Duke said no 3 times. Chloe swallowed his saliva. This time, I came to find out about men, not women. A man. His head was spinning. Could it be that they got caught? I thought that if I just went back home, nothing would happen, but was it already too late? On that day a few days ago, when the words, "I have a woman to find," came out of the Duke's mouth, should he have run away immediately? The Duke was staring at Chloe as if glaring. Chloe found it difficult to meet the Duke's eyes and slightly looked away. Cline Lidden. When she heard the Duke's voice calling her, she had no choice but to look at him again. Cline Lidden, I think I should make a request for a man with this name. As expected, the man the Duke was talking about was her. She was the woman the Duke was looking for, and she was now the man the Duke wanted to recognize. Didn't she say she doesn't have any sisters? But you have a sister. Why did you hide that fact? Are you going to say it yourself, or are you going to ask the Information Guild to do it? Ah. Female sibling. Did you catch that? First of all, it meant that they had not discovered that she was a woman. But she was caught lying about her family. For now, let's go back to the Duke's residence. Leaving Chloe in the alley with a storm in her head, the Duke turned around, got on his horse, and rode away. Should I just run away like this? The impulse came. It was an incredibly foolish and reckless impulse, but Chloe's body was already heading in the opposite direction where the Duke had disappeared.